All right, so here's an exercise about arrays. And so basically this exercise is pretty straightforward. It's really just trying to make sure that you understand the syntax of how to work with arrays, and in particular, 2D arrays. So here we've got this 6x6 2D array called ARR. And what we want to do is we want to sort of do this hourglass sum. And it sort of shows you what this is. So if you were to like take this, the hourglass sum here would be 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So you would add all those up and you get 7. So like here, you take this thing and you do the hourglass sum. So the centers of the hourglass sum, it goes from this minus 9 here and it goes all the way across and all the way down to here. Those are the centers. And for each of those centers, you do this sort of hourglass sum thing. And what they want is, let's see here. So these are all the hourglass sums. They want you to find the largest one. And there's some constraints. So this is actually sort of like an easier sum. This is an easier problem than it could have been because of the fact that it's set to be a 6x6 array. So you don't really have to do too much extra work there. So basically, let's see here. What are we going to do? We're going to do something called sum list. And this is just going to be blank for now. And basically what we're going to do is this is going to be our list of all the hourglass sums that we end up with. So there's going to end up with, what is it, 16? Because that's the number of centers there are. There's going to be 16 entries in this list. And each entry is going to be one of the hourglass sums. And then at the end, we're just going to figure out the largest entry in this list, and that's going to be our output. So we simply loop through the rows and columns. So for I in range, I'm going to go from 1 to 5. And why are we going from 1 to 5? Because if we look at the, we will think of, let's see here, I is the row number and j is the column number. So the centers are going to go from this 1 down to this 0. So it's going to go, if we number these rows, we have row 0, row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5. We're going to go from 1 down. Right. Okay, so we want the values of I to start at 1 and go all the way to 4. And so we put the 1 to start it at 1, and then we put the 5 because you end when you get to the this 5. Basically, you end when you get to the index 5 minus 1, which is 4. That's why, like, for example, if you do range n, then the indices are going to be 0 to n minus 1. And so similarly, if you were to do range m comma n, then you would go from m to n minus 1. All right, so that's how this works. And the laptop that I get the solutions from, sort of, the screen goes blank, so great. Yeah, so basically we're going to go for I in range from 1 to 5 here. So for j in range 1, 5 as well. So the i's again are the row indices and the j's are the column indices. They're each going to start at 1 and end at 5. All right, here's what we do in the loop. So the current sum, so the current hourglass sum corresponding with the ith row and jth column is going to be, so R is the the 6x6 array that we're starting with. The row number, we're just going to go through the we're going to add these terms one by one. So we start with, let's see, if we look up here at how it works, the center is going to be, the center is D. So we need to add A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So A, B, C, these are on the row I minus 1, and E, F, G are on row I plus 1. And A and E are on column J minus 1, and C and G are on column J plus 1. So with that in mind, that's how we're going to sort of add these things up. So we're going to start, when we're looking at row I minus 1, we have columns J minus 1. We also have column J. Then we have column J plus 1. All right, let's continue this on the next. And then we're going to add, so in row I, the only column that gets included is column J. And then on row I plus 1, then we again go through J minus 1. And then we have J. And then finally, we have J plus 1. So sort of manual, but what are you going to do? All right, so now we're going to take our sum list and append the current sum. We're going to throw this into the list. And then when we're done doing all these loops, we have this sum list, which contains all 16 of our hourglass sums. And then the largest sum is just going to be the max of sum list. And then we're going to return this largest sum. All right, so that should work. Let's run it just to make sure it checks out. Looks like it checks out. Let's submit the code. There's no issues with optimization here because it's just a 6x6 and it works. So again, you just go through all the rows, you go through all the columns, you do each individual hourglass sum, and then you just take all these hourglass sums and you find the maximum. Of course, if this were like not a 6x6 2D array, but like an n by n, then you would need to change these 5s to n minus 1. But yeah, otherwise that's really all there is to this exercise. It's more about making sure that you understand the syntax of how to work with a 2D array. And so if you figure that out, then you can do this exercise and then you're done.